Okay, so today I'm gonna have you guys do a little bit of pen tool practice. You should see on the website, you should have access to this document. It's basically nothing more than coyotes and a font onto a page. However, you'll note that you cannot click or select on coyotes. That is because I have locked coyotes. It's pretty simple. If you have an object selected, you can go object and you can lock an object, and that basically means that you can't click on it or edit it or mess it up in any way. So it's kind of nice. However, if you wanted to move it or unlock it, you would have to unlock everything in order to access it. But I locked it just to make life a little bit easier for you guys right now. You should know that the Workspace and Windows is Essentials, and that is the one I'm going to use for today and the demos and stuff. And you'll also note that under the layers panel, we have layers for coyotes and a new layer that I'm going to do the pen tool on. Okay, and the last thing that is not automatic on the essentials that I want is the Navigator. So I'm going to go Window, Navigator, and that should pop up. So that just allows me to easily zoom in and move around on the screen. Okay, so I've zoomed in here 300%, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pen tool to outline this text. And you might be wondering, well, why are we doing this? Like, why can't I just use text? Well, text is fine and dandy, and it's great for doing text. It's great for doing paragraphs. It's great for doing that kind of stuff. However, if you were trying to make a logo per se, or something where you needed some text to fit with the art piece, you would need to make your own text. And the best way to make your own text and or font is to use the pen tool. And the best way to learn how to use the pen tool is by using the pen tool, and outlining text using the pen tool is the best way to learn how to make text with the pen tool. So yeah, makes sense to me. So this is what we're going to do. I'll go ahead and do one or two here and show you guys how it's done, and then the rest can be done by you. So using the pen tool, as you have no doubt learned by now, is I can click to make anchor points, and those anchor points make a shape when I click them all together. If I were to click a bunch and then just leave them unfilled, you've noticed, yeah, it like doesn't like to deselect. If for ever any reason you wanted to deselect, you can just go select deselect, and that will get rid of your selection, or that is also Shift Control A if you want to do that. Now, using the pen tool is pretty simple. When I click, I make a point. When I click again, I make another point, and it connects a straight line between those points. When I click and hold, I can drag and make a curved line that has these handlebars, and these handlebars affect how that curve acts. If I click on this point again, and then click somewhere again, it actually gets rid of one of those handlebars. See how one of them disappears. And that's the gist of how we're going to use the pen tool. Once you get a shape completed, you can go back in and edit some of these nodes or remove them using the pen tool. Now, if you look at the top left, like many other tools in Illustrator, it has multiple options. You have the pen tool, you have the add anchor points tool, which allows you to go in to your line and add an anchor point wherever you click, as long as you click on the path. You have the delete anchor point tool, which does the opposite. You can delete anchor points along the path. And you have the anchor point tool like arrow thing here. And basically what this does is quite a few little things actually. So you'll know if I go over the top of an anchor point and click, I can edit its curves. And I can also edit the handles with it. So it kind of lets me do quite a few different things. But if I click on the line, on the path in between two anchor points, I can actually drag that path around to try and make and kind of edit two anchor points at once. So kind of interesting. And if I click on the anchor point handle and just click and release, it gets rid of it. So you use the pen tool usually to make your shape, the gist of it, but then you'll end up using this anchor point tool to edit most of the shape. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this and we're going to go up here to kayaks. Now, I'm going to get rid of the fill, so I'm just going to swap the fill and stroke. So it has no fill and just a black stroke. Unfortunately, my text is black. So in order to make my work a little bit easier, I'm going to make my line magenta, just so I can see it while I'm drawing. And switch to the pen tool. So how do I go about doing this? Well, there's a couple of different options. Option one is to make a bunch of different anchor points and go all the way around, okay? I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, that's not going to work. You're going to end up with a really bad, crooked looking letter, and it's just not going to end up well. Your job with the pen tool is actually to make as few of anchor points as possible if you want a smooth curve. So let's try this out. What I actually would do with the pen tool is try and think about where I can make marks or nodes to make these curves as efficiently as possible. And believe it or not, that is what I'm going to actually do for this C. So then I'll switch back to my anchor point tool, and I'm going to grab this path, which was the path I had decided for. Oops, not this one. This path. Oh, did it click? Okay, hold up. Let's make my life a little easier here. So I'm going to add an anchor point, then this is going to go all the way around to here, and then to here, and then this one's going to go all the way around to here, and then finish. So go back, grab this, and then I'm going to move this into here. So now I'm going to use these handles, and I'm going to attempt to edit this in such a way that it meets this whole C shape. And by using as few of points as possible, I can actually get a curve that's really close to the C shape of this C, okay? And there's a little bit more editing I can do to that. Then do the same thing with this one, drag it into here, and edit these. This one's gonna be kind of tough, but edit these handles so that it does what I want it to do. I might have to use another point on this one. Yeah, I'll probably use a point. Okay, so it's like, I'm gonna have to use another point on this one. So I can just go into the Add Anchor Point tool, and I can add a point here, and then I'll go back to my Anchor Point tool and edit this handle. So pull that up to there, pull this handle up to there, and there we go. So I can do little adjustments using the direct selection tool. I can select these specific anchor points that I maybe misclicked just a bit and pull them closer to the locations that I want. Need to zoom in a bit here so I can more easily fix this one. You know, this path got a little off by moving it, so I'm going to want to move the path around to try and fix it. You'll note that this one causes a little bit of a weird hiccup right here, so I'm going to want to try and smooth that out a bit and try and make everything look as smooth as possible. So cool, I have my first path. So I can slide that off, and you can see I have a nice C, and then I can give that a fill, and then I would have my first letter traced. Okay, so if I wanted to give it a fill, I can just go down here and click fill, and we'll make it gross and have a green fill with a pink outline. Great. I suppose I should use orange, huh? I mean, it does say coyotes. All right, orange. Cool. So onward and onward. So you'll keep doing that for all these. So the things to note: if you have to do a straight line, like on some of these, you're gonna be wondering, well, how do I get a straight line? Well, if you hold Shift while making a node, you'll note it moves the line in discrete increments, in 45-degree increments. So if I hold shift, I can make a straight line, and then I can keep working my way around. Now, we have these curved edges on these ones here. So you're going to probably have to do ever so slight curves on those to match that. Now, your other option would be actually to use the stroke command. So let's zoom in here real quick. If you see that I have my T here, I could do just like what I did before and make nodes around this and then edit it to fix this curve. And on a big shape like the top of this T, that might be the right choice. On some of these curves, that would probably be the right choice. However, say like on a smaller one, so like this one right here maybe, I could maybe get away with using the actual stroke tool itself. However, that is going to cause some issues with some of these really like sharp edged here, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you anyways in case you were curious. So say I wanted to actually make this curve around this edge instead of me intentionally curving it. Well, if I were to go to the stroke dialog over here, I can choose the corners for the stroke that I've made on with my pen tool to follow that curved edging. So you can see then there I have a nice curved edge, beveled edge on that instead of the harsh lines. Now you'll note that it did it to all of them. And so if you're having a combination of sharp edges and curved edges, that's not going to be the way to do it. But I just wanted to show you that it does work even for pen tool type strokes. So if you're doing the T here, odds are you're going to have to make it around each of these little curves like this. You'll have to do nodes on either side in order to make that curve like I did up here. So yeah, so that's your task, is to outline all of coyotes with the pen tool and to give them a fill. Like I said, you want to use as few of nodes as possible so you get the nice smoothest outlines. And then once you have done with that, you should have some pretty decent control over the pen tool, and so you might be able to make your own text, which will be coming in handy when we get to the first project next week, which would be to do a logo. So until then.